we're on.
Welcome to episode 23 of Cause and Effect.
Cause and Defect, sir.
That's what I said. I think I just
You
mumbled.
you didn't pronounce the D.
Cause and Effect.
It's an important part.
We're causing an effect here, so that's the best I got.
Jesus Christ. Well, this is the show for serious conversations with not so serious people, ladies and gentlemen.
If you can't tell.
We have been on a long hiatus.
Intermission.
Yeah. We chose to take the election season off, pretty much. I'm going to make an excuse for us and say that we thought it would just get too serious too often.
Yeah. And we have reason to believe that, too, because it did.
Yeah, it did. And so we are here not only with a new episode, but a whole new format for you all.
Yeah, and a new arena, whatever you want to call this place.
Right.
As you can see, we are no longer in South Carolina. We are actually in space near... something.
A wormhole. We're actually at the top of Earth. See what you... No, that's Earth.
Yeah,
that's
I don't know. Is that Earth?
Yeah, it is. It's supposed to be.
I don't know where we are, but we're in a mystical location, I'll tell you that.
Somewhere. But we might change our slogan to the podcast with the astronaut in the background.
Yeah.
So if you're actually watching this and not just listening, then you'll get it.
Yeah, that way there's no question.
All right. Well, today, guys, we are going to have a multi-segment podcast. So it's not... We're trying to make our podcast a little less serious. We realized that we'd play a funny game and then be serious for like a full hour and then play another funny game.
Yeah. So I think people dig in for like 10 minutes and then there's like, man, it's getting too serious for me.
That's right.
So
what we're doing is we are going to have a segment like right at the beginning. We're going to catch up or just have a few laughs right at the beginning as we just did. Then we're going to transition into a serious segment, which we're going to have two segments of the same topic at the beginning and at the end, and we're going to have a hard time limit on each section for how long we can talk. So we've decided for now on 15 minutes per segment, and we're going to set ourselves a timer. So when that timer goes off, even if we're in the middle of a point, we have to shut the hell up.
Cut off and go to something else.
And play a funny game, which since we're just coming back, we're going to play a game of Super Fight in the middle.
Sure. I'm fine with that.
Maybe catch up a little bit on potentially what happened with our nation and try to keep it lighthearted, you know. And
I have to say something real quick. I think it's the room or maybe the lighting, which I just realized we don't have our other lights on. But I think the camera's adding a lot of weight to me. I'm not actually this fat. You know, I know my face looks like it's gotten a little larger than the last episode. It's because it has.
That stupid, pointless beanie on your head isn't helping anything either. You look like a damn construction worker.
I look like I robbed somebody earlier or something. Like I raised beavers at my house or something.
Well, today, guys, the segment that we're going to do for 15 minutes at the beginning, 15 minutes at the end, is going to be, is violence ever necessary?
So, since you started the title, I'm going to start the timer.
Start it.
Bam. 15 minutes, go.
All right, so
you have to monologue for 15 minutes.
Oh, good Lord. I don't know. Well, actually, I could probably do that. That's a pretty easy subject.
Yeah, it is.
But is violence ever necessary? I would say that initially my first thoughts are that violence may be kind of transitioning out of being necessary, because in the past, and at least in the present right now, it's at the point where you have to have a small set of violence to avoid a larger set of violence somewhere else. So it's like you kind of pick your little bits of poison here and there to avoid larger conflict.
That's what they say anyways. I break it down to be a little more personal, I guess. Like, if you were raising a child, would violence be necessary to raise that child? And I don't mean violence like you're like beating it to death or something, but to spank your child or to discipline them. I think some people might think that'd be like an act of violence.
Yeah, I would say that is a minor act of violence.
Would you raise your voice at your child or spank them?
We're kind of getting down to the definition of violence here. We're not maybe not violent speech. We mean, I guess we're talking about physical violence here.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people would disagree that you have to, or disagree with the idea that you have to beat your child or be violent with your child to raise someone who is of proper behavior.
I don't know, man. Have you seen some children out there?
Yeah, some of these kids need their asses kicked.
Yeah. It's like you start talking to them and their parents are kind of pushovers, you know? So they know they can walk all over their parents, so you just know that they just need a smack in the face, and maybe that'll set them straight. But
I think what started us off on this little tangent of the topic of violence is us bringing up the idea of imperialism.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned it the last podcast on What the Fact.
Yeah.
It was one of your questions to me if violence is necessary.
Yeah.
And we kind of got on a little rant and talked about it and, you know, and then, yeah, brought up imperialism. So in order for any nation state to expand, which would be imperialism, I guess, would that invoke violence?
I mean, if you think you can put boots on the ground in some other country that doesn't want you there, it's gonna spark violence.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you try to exert your will over them, they're not gonna allow that most of the time.
Yeah,
unless they're Jains or are Buddhists.
Yes. So in that case, I think imperialism in general requires a decent amount of violence. I will say, I guess if you look at it more now, like what you were saying, maybe we can avoid those and do more like manipulating that doesn't actually cause real violence for people. But I guess that would get down to defining what the word actually means to people, because manipulating and conniving and scamming people to me maybe it's not a sort of violence. I guess I wouldn't really use that word.
No, that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
At least not what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm thinking more along the lines of war, physical warfare. And while we're on the topic of imperialism, I have been of the disposition that imperialism is, or it should be, a thing of the past. And I don't like the idea of it at all.
Explain what I guess you mean by imperialism.
I'm just thinking of like imperialist nations, such as initially the first one that comes to mind is England of antiquity. Maybe not as much anymore because they are super established. And not only that, the U.S. is almost at this point an extension of England because we're allies and we work together to do all sorts of things. So the United States in particular, if you look at how we operate on a global scale, we are the pinnacle of what it means to be an imperialist nation. We have our fingers all over the place. And this is where we would start to get into a little bit of a debate, because having our fingers all over the place and having all of these potential places where if somebody were to try to hit us at home, we could strike them just as close to home without as much of an effort and cause some serious problems for them. So is that little bit of imperialism preventing a larger scale of violence? Who's to say?
No, because it would work in a bunch of different ways, right? It's not just America that has their hands in the pot of, whatever.
Oh, of course not.
It's a lot of countries have that, in fact. So I think we have this like sort of checks and balances right now, where if we do something fucked up, then we got a lot of people coming our way, and vice versa. If another country decides to do some shit, then they got a lot of stuff coming their way too. But I say that, and then I think of Russia,
right?
And they just been beating the door down on Ukraine for like forever.
Yeah, I mean, foreign affairs are really, really complicated field.
That would not ever be something I'd want to get involved in.
Hell no. It is endlessly complicated.
Because you either have to just be like a ruthless asshole and say, all right, we've had enough. We're just going to have to take these people over and do it for them. Or in a sense, you're in a kind of a position where that might happen to you. It's kind of like that arms race, what we're discussing about nukes and stuff. It's like, if we're not going to do it, somebody's going to do it.
Yeah, and
we kind of have to do it at that
also
point.
Like, what allies do these people have that we might be pissing off by putting our soldiers on the ground there? You have to consider all sorts of things, and you have to also maybe potentially make deals with their allies, or try to engage in some sort of counterinsurgence effort. Basically the idea now, it wasn't the same in the past, maybe it was, but I think we have more of an idea of it at this point in history, is that you really need to quell the population and win them over, not as much destroy them and rape and pillage and all sorts of stuff.
We have like propaganda machines now.
Yeah,
we have like complete manipulation of the mind and psychology, whereas before it's like I imagine trying to invade. I'm just making up a scenario, but like England or something a long time ago. They didn't speak the same language. There wasn't much for like diplomatic solutions at that point. So it's like, if we want the land, then well, we'll just fucking take it from you.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like we can be diplomatic because we're so globally combined, I guess. So I don't think there would, well, at least I really hope not, there wouldn't be a situation where a country would just blatantly try to take over another country. No, especially not like a world power.
No, unless they're, I mean, the example that my brain is going to is potentially like North Korea, because they seem like the only country that would be belligerent enough and potentially dull enough to literally try to take over some other small nation without even considering the implications of it, and then getting their asses stomped.
They haven't taken over South Korea yet, so
that's because South Korea is superior in pretty much every way, and they're backed by the United States.
Yeah, and like China and all that's right there.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, like, even, I don't know if you've looked at the size comparisons of South Koreans and North Koreans. North Koreans, I mean, they've been starved and famished for generations. So on average, their people are just really short. So like, if you look at,
it's kind of crazy.
It is funny. It's funny to me. But if you look at the pictures side by side of like the average South Korean and the average North Korean, I think the difference is like 3 inches, 4 inches maybe. Which is nuts.
Yeah,
I mean, like, the average North Korean is like 5'4", I think.
Yeah, that would be you versus me.
Yeah.
A bunch of yous versus a bunch of me's.
Right. Except we weigh about the same. They don't even weigh the same.
It's like if I had your body in the same height as myself. But I think that violence just is going to have a completely different definition now. I don't think it'll ever really be what it was.
Well, because we never really, like, I mean, we do, but it's, violence in the past meant more hands-on. You're very intimate with the people that you're literally fighting to the death.
Right.
You look them in the eyes as you drive a sword through them, kind of thing.
That sounds brutal.
Yeah, I mean, warfare in the past, it had more implications on the individual level than it does now. I mean, I'm not a veteran by any means, obviously.
Are you sure?
I'm never gonna join the military, but I would say that most of the time warfare happens over large distances, and you don't actually have to look at your enemies.
Yeah, well, especially
when you're killing
now.
them.
Yeah, especially now. I guess that was the point of it. Like, how can we fight people but get further and further away from them?
Yeah.
You know, like now we have, I don't know, they're intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. So
look at you.
I know, crazy stuff.
Proud of you, son.
And so we can pretty much send missiles to any place on the earth within like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Or something like 30 minutes max. Like we can bomb any country we want that fast. And I mean, I don't think we would do that unless there really was like, you know, like North Korea tried to wow out and everybody was in agreement, like, let's just get rid of them. You know? Yeah. I don't even think it would be us at that point that pulled the trigger.
No, and I think there's more of a global understanding of, what's the term that I'm looking for? I had it in my head just a minute ago. Mutually assured destruction. There's more of a global understanding of that. The Cold War was, I mean, that's all that was.
Yeah.
Is that's the reason that we staved off war. And I think that's more of something that you have to just keep in mind when you're potentially going to go to war or be violent with another nation. And in the past, I'm pretty sure they didn't think about that. Like, I don't think Genghis Khan thought about mutually assured destruction when he was raiding China. And
it was more just like, we're bigger than you, we're going to fuck you up.
Yeah, like, I'm ruthless. I don't give a fuck about the people that I'm sending to you. I'm going to send them until you're taken over, kind of thing. And I'm going to tell them to rape and burn.
Right, and it's crazy now because, like, even if America came up with some scheme to just go invade somebody else, I guarantee you they would know about 5 mintes later. When in, you know, that time they wouldn't know until the people showed up at their door. Right. You know, like now, I'm sure even if we're not infiltrated by other countries, the word gets around so fast that we're not just going to sneak up on someone hardly, unless it's like a small special forces unit or something like that. But,
or I mean, like you talked about with me the other day, if you go ahead and plant weapons in a country, like you talk to them and like make them think that you're on their side, kind of thing, and then you go ahead and plant the bombs in there just in case for the future. If they kind of get a little wild, then you boop, and you press a button.
It's just gone before anybody can even do anything.
They don't see anything coming.
That's a really fucking scary thing to think about.
I mean, it's quite possible that it happens, but is violence necessary? in modern day society, I keep bringing my head back to, yes, it is on a small scale to prevent larger scale bits of violence, because I just honestly think that, at least for now, maybe we can change our nature, but humans by nature are violent. That's how I see it.
And not only that, so I think the question's almost moot in a sense, because it's always going to happen. I unless we literally like become bionic or something, I don't see us getting away from these sort of, I'm trying not to sound pretentious, but like archetypal structures that we've created for ourselves.
No, that's not pretentious. Like, I mean, we would literally have to ascend above our current state of enlightenment. We would have to become a higher order civilization.
Right. Everything that got us to where we are today, we pretty much have to abandon it and kind of create something new.
Yeah, so we're just talking idealistically here.
Right. So in a sense, I don't think it would ever happen. But I know you're talking globally, but I'd like to bring it down to more of a personal level. Is violence necessary to, again, purvey a point that person might not have the capacity to understand? In a sense, I guess I'm thinking about children again in a certain sense. But like if I
just pictured you like trying to drive a point home, and they just kept saying, "I don't get it," and eventually you just fucking raise your hand and you're never gonna get this, and you just kill them.
But it's more like a discipline thing. It's like, if I've sat down and talked to my child or whatever 100 million times and said, don't do this thing because of this, and then tried every avenue I possibly can to, eventually I'm just gonna smack the shit out of you, because the saying,
the redneck coming out of you.
The saying "knock some sense into you" has to mean something somewhere. Like it had to come from somewhere. So some people they just. I don't know if it's like a pride thing. Maybe it's just like I'm sure it's not just a male thing, but
no.
Some people, I'm included in this, just generally don't like to be told what to do. And so for me, it would take a lot of explaining to say, hey, this is how you do it. But if I just like couldn't actually physically understand the why, I'm just going to blatantly not do what you told me to do. And eventually you'll probably have to get violent if you actually want me to do what you gotta like beat me down and take the pride out of me or something like that, just to get them to do what you want. So
yeah, I mean, and if a kid is being disrespectful in the most incredulous fashion, and he won't stop, and you warn him a multitude of times, especially if you're the point of authority that's supposed to be keeping him in line, and he keeps being disrespectful. I mean, at a certain point, that child, I don't know how their parenting would have to go at home for them to get to that point. Maybe their parenting at home would have to be better so that you wouldn't have to physically altercate with them.
Assault them.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know. If you're not, like, literally hurting the child, I mean, it really does help drive the point home of, you're not going to disrespect me, and you're not going to.
I'm the alpha male here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
that's human nature.
It is human
sad
nature.
to digress to that sort of thinking.
And unfortunately, once that's been established in you as a young person, again, this is that same system that we're created off of. We know who the dominant male is in the family, or dominant female, whatever it is. You have to listen to that person, or if not, there's a chance of violence. There's a chance of getting hurt, and sometimes even death. So when we get older, it's just extrapolated out.
Oh,
well, that's good to know.
All right. Write down beating children. That's where we were. We're gonna jump back into that later.
So speaking of children, did you hear that they wanted to extend the abortion? Well, what is it? I was going to say deadline until the child is 3 years old.
What?
I just made that up.
Oh, okay.
He becomes 2 years old, and you're like, "Fuck it, let's start over. Let's get rid of this one."
No, too late. We have like the pit that the Spartans used to have.
Yeah.
Discard him.
Right. Exactly. We don't need that one anymore.
Nope.
Hey, some grandmas can have like 19 fucking children.
Good lord.
So if you have like 2 or 3, and the first 2 or 3 just aren't that good, you should be able to start over at some point.
Yeah, they get out of line too often. You just throw them in the Sarlacc pit.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So I haven't talked to you that much lately. Well, I do talk to you pretty much almost every day, I feel like, but I don't see you as often as I used to when I used to live here next to Chase, which I don't live here anymore. I moved far, far away.
You did.
And so,
son of a bitch.
I know. Now I can't just show up at your house all the time.
Well,
and
that's
bother
kind of
you.
good for me.
Yeah, I guess so. But just to, I don't know. I'm just catching up between you and me.
Yeah, I mean, we need to catch up with the few viewers that we have as well. Set another timer.
One of my
20 minutes ish. Oh well, no, we don't have to.
We'll start it at the next 15. We'll let this part ride out,
okay,
and we'll just switch them when we're ready.
Yeah, that's fine.
So one of my aunts passed away recently, and I don't even know if I told you this or not, but I was at the funeral, and like a couple of my cousins came up to me and were like, "Yeah, I've been listening to your podcast."
Really?
Yeah, I was like, "Oh shit,
that's funny."
Like, I know. I was like, I was not expecting that at all. Like cousins, I just don't see very much. Probably haven't seen in years, and it was like cool that they're peeping in.
That's interesting.
Just to hear what's going on. So.
Yeah. So hopefully this new structure will be attractive to more viewers. We're not going to have really as long of conversations. Yeah. If we ever get a guest in here, then maybe it'll extend for a really long time. But
yeah, that'll kind of be easier. I think our structure of what we have right now will probably end up changing too.
I'm sure.
Like we'll kind of manipulate it as we go.
Yeah,
but
we're not rigid by any means.
Of course, the whole point is just trying to make sure it stays interesting and fun. But also, you look at it like comedians' podcasts, and they kind of just sit there and jab and tell stories, and I love that kind of stuff. It's interesting. But there's also, you don't really learn anything from it.
Right, and I would like to have a kind of a niche, like a thing that we do. We're serious conversations with not so serious people, and I think it is funny to do the time limits on these serious conversations that we have, and we have to like maybe write down a single funny bullet point, where we stop, and then try to pick back up where we left off on the second half. I think that'll be funny.
It will be funny. I thought about that abortion thing like hours ago.
What? Oh,
yeah, I was like, this is gonna be good.
Good Lord.
I totally got to bring this up.
Yeah. Wow. That was
You're welcome.
Enlightened of you, sir.
So, doing anything? I don't think I've asked you if you're doing anything for Christmas. Are you going to Wilmington?
No. So I'll be in Spartanburg.
Oh, yeah, that side of the family.
Yeah, with that little bit of fam. But as we all know, the coronavirus is in its second wave at this point.
It's raging.
Yep. So we are we're gonna have a limited family gathering.
Is your family pretty concerned about that stuff?
Some of them. This side of the family is not. My brother and his wife are pretty concerned about it. And my father's side of the family, my father's brother's wife, so my uncle's wife, who was also my aunt.
I would agree.
That's
so.
The longest-winded way I could fucking put that. She's a little concerned about it. Yeah. Like I didn't even hug her. But people are scared, and I find it kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny to the point of being annoying to me.
Yeah,
and maybe I'm a jackass, or maybe I don't understand enough about it. Whatever the case may be.
Well, this will be the point where people will be like, "You think millions of people dying is funny?" Well, first of all, calm down.
Yeah.
All right.
Never
millions
said that.
of people haven't died.
Yeah. I'd pick a couple people that I think if they died would be funny, but
yeah.
I couldn't say millions.
I mean, this is like trimming the hedges. That's what coronavirus is doing.
just trimming the fat.
That's right.
That's
it. Something's got to do it, man. Humans have to die. Like everybody dies. Some people die by coronavirus. Humans can't be left unchecked. Coronavirus is one of nature's checks on humanity. That's just how that's how it be. And whether or not it was artificial made in a lab or not, humans are part of nature.
I don't see bats dropping dead everywhere.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
All right, I mean, like, if you guys have looked into that at all, what China has released, a lot of people think that it did come out of a Chinese lab, and that was just pure speculation for a long time, but it's becoming more and more likely.
Yeah. Brad Weinstein talked about it like as soon as it happened. And I think we talked about it on the podcast. I didn't mean to go down a big coronavirus thing, but
who cares? We're just talking for a minute.
But he was just like, he was like, it's really weird how the transition point from a bat to a person took absolutely no time. Like it didn't have to adapt. It didn't have to like, what's the M word I'm looking for?
M word?
Yes. More for
mutate.
There it is. You didn't have to mutate. To become a part of humans or to be able to infect a human. It was just like almost immediately, and then the whole world had it all of a sudden.
Yep.
So
it's crazy.
And because it's so low in mortality rate and all that kind of good stuff, I just don't really personally care about it at all. But
yeah, I mean, like I care about it, but I'm not scared of it. There's a stark difference.
I have this problem where people are doing this like sort of virtue signaling thing where they're like, oh, I'm going to put my mask on because of everyone else around me.
Yeah.
It's like, when have you ever cared about anyone else around you? I guarantee you were just driving 80 miles an hour down the road looking at your phone. You didn't seem to give a shit then, but now because it's on Facebook and you can get some likes for it, now you're going to throw out like, I wear my mask for other people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, good for you.
And like, excuse me, when people do deeds for homeless people and film it and then put it online.
That is so insulting.
God,
man.
seriously.
Man, I feel so bad for like those people in high school where their team comes up to them and it's like, he couldn't afford basketball shoes this year, so we all got him some new ones. I'm like, don't film that shit. You just embarrassed that kid in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. Now millions of people are watching this kid that is poor and broke, and especially in high school when that kind of shit like matters to you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my age, I'm broke as hell. I can't afford that shit. I don't give a shit. But like back then, it's not your fault because of, you know, who your family is or any of that stuff. So putting that on the internet, like, hey, him and his family is broke,
hey,
but we're so
what an
good.
idiot.
Yeah. We're so good. We got him some shoes, so you're welcome, little buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, fuck you, man. Get the shit out of my face.
I don't want your goddamn shoes.
Yeah, take your hand
I'll
out.
play basketball barefoot.
Ain't no goddamn charity case.
Well, we were talking about coronavirus.
I was just asking your holiday plans, really.
Yeah, that's really it.
What
man.
is the
Just
one gift you're looking forward
else.
to? Yeah, I know you probably know what gifts you're already getting for the most part.
Well, the main gift that I'm getting is my parents are repairing a little bit of damage on my car, for my Christmas present.
Okay.
And my birthday present combined.
So how'd that damage
normally
happen?
happens. Let's not talk about that.
I think people would love to know.
I backed into a tree. Okay. Jesus.
Is that the first thing you've backed into?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes. Oh yeah. That happened a lot. That was in the dark. I was also blitzed.
Yes.
And her car, I couldn't see it. Okay. And there was no damage that happened. So.
Say whatever you want, man.
I'm saying whatever I want. You don't have to tell me that. That's what I'm doing.
I'm just asking you. You know, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. All right. Cool,
I don't know if
you're such a good friend.
If I was nice to you all the time, what kind of friend would that be?
That's true. And this is fair because I exposed online for the entire world to see that you have eaten ass before. So.
Yeah, you did. You did do that.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
We all go down the mud hole sometimes. No, we don't.
The deep, dark mud hole.
Oh, good Lord. Let's get off that subject.
Yeah, pull yourself out of the muck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything I'm looking forward to except, well, Christmas is just like a family thing. I don't really care about the presents, and I really don't want anything specific, but we are going to Disney World at the end of January.
Who even celebrates Christmas? Like, it's got all sorts of convoluted meaning now. Like, people say it's about the birth of Jesus, but really, like, everybody focuses on Santa and all of these pagan traditions and giving gifts. People say it originated with the 3 wise men. That's the giving of gifts, I'm pretty sure, is pagan too. It's all just some sort of mixed bag of bullshit, and I don't buy into any of it.
It's a beautiful marketing scheme.
Oh, that's exactly what it is, yeah.
Let's convince people to buy stuff for each other and buy the most expensive bullshit you can.
Yeah,
too.
that's
like, why is Black Friday a thing?
It's a great boost to the economy.
I know it's, you know, good for consumers and businesses and all that kind of stuff. I'm not hating on it, but just the fact that there's one day a year where everyone knows that prices are on sale, so you can buy stuff for this holiday that wasn't supposed to be about buying stuff for people in the first place. It's like, well, we've kind of gotten off tour there with the whole holiday.
The funniest part about Black Friday, which I think should be common knowledge at this point, is that it's right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right after the day that you're supposed to be thankful for everything that you already have. Everybody kills each other to go get new shit.
Well, you were thankful for that day. Now tomorrow's a new day. You know? Next
Thanksgiving, I'm going to say, I'm thankful for Black Friday.
Yeah. I'm thankful for the things that I'll get soon.
Yeah,
in the next coming months. Everything I have now is, it's all right.
Nah, nobody likes Thanksgiving.
I wonder what percentage of people like sit at their houses on Christmas and just think about Christ.
A lot of people, man. Like,
so?
I mean, I've been around some religious folks, so maybe that's not the main focus for a lot of people.
But I guess I'm around secular type religious people where they're like, quasi-religious or however you want to word it, but they're like religious when they need to be.
Yeah.
But at the rest of the time, they're like, God damn, fuck this shit up. Let's drink some beer. They don't say God. I'm like,
we go to church Sunday to cleanse our sins.
Yeah.
If we don't sin, Jesus would have died for nothing.
That's right.
Hell yeah. So
hilarious.
Let's party.
That's hilarious. No one in my family says GD except for me. I'm pretty sure. Maybe
because you're a terrible person.
I can see my mom doing it, but she's where I get my terribleness from. So.
Well, your mom is a terrible person, so.
And it was funny because she was.
I'm just kidding. Judy.
He's not kidding. Anyways,
is what it is.
She was the one that was texting us like, has everybody been responsible? Is everyone wearing their mask and all this stuff? And I was like, nope. I go out to eat all the time, and I don't wear a mask unless I'm absolutely told to do so to enter somewhere. Then I take it off when I get in there. I'm one of those assholes.
Yeah.
And I just don't care. I really don't care.
We don't have to debate that at this point.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Because I would love to play a serious devil's advocate with you, but we don't have to.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of arguments against what I'm saying, but...
Well, there are arguments for what you're saying, too. Because, I mean, as you know, the WHO has come out with something recently, and I would be remiss if I did not mention this. They've come out with a study recently that showed that pretty much it's not nearly as readily transmitted via aerosol particles as they previously thought. Yep. It's more along the lines of surface spreading.
So a lot of it's on the ground.
Yeah, so pretty much wash your hands, be sanitary, don't be disgusting.
Yeah, don't cough in someone's mouth or make out with somebody if you have COVID.
Right. I mean, that'll obviously do something for you, but...
the thing that bothers me the most, and I will stop talking about COVID right after this, but I just hate that people are scared to see their families. And that makes me so upset that it's like, well, if you just stay in your home and don't see anyone ever for all the holidays, then you'll be safer that way. It's like the flu and all these other things have been out for forever. You don't see people cowering and wearing their masks and doing all that kind of stuff. And yeah, a lot of people die from it, and maybe we could have some measures to prevent it, but to stay in your house and not be able to go anywhere, and you can't even go to your business, you can't go to your friends, you can't go to your family. This has been going on since February. Like, let's get this shit over with. That bothers me.
Yeah, so, I mean, we can't do this forever.
Right. I just feel bad for the people that really do take it seriously and they can't see their families because of it.
I think
or
that
choose not to. Right?
And the thing that makes me the most angry is if it doesn't really happen in South Carolina, but I know it happens in the more conservative states. If you're outside and not really around a lot of people, and people expect you to wear your mask, that's pretty much like right where I draw the line. If I'm outside anywhere and I don't have to be near anyone, unless I'm in a giant public gathering, I'm not wearing a mask outside. I'm not doing it. Never. Right. It's not going to happen. I'll be respectful and wear my mask indoors. I'm not going to be a martyr about it. Right. But if I go out, as soon as I step outside, I'm taking my mask off. And if somebody tells me to put my mask on while I'm outside in the open air, in my own space, I'm going to tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I'm going to kick them in the chest.
Yeah.
Like, I bet now it's hard to breathe, you bitch.
While I'm thinking about this, we should talk about our beer of the day.
Okay.
So today we have a Limeade Blackberry Session Sour by Highwire. I don't have the can in here with me, but it is delicious. We're about halfway through it. But,
it's very easy to drink, too.
Yeah. It's really good. So I wanted to say that before we got on to potentially our next segment, because I know we're creeping up on our time.
Probably so. I saw they were giving out some beer or whatever today at work. And it's like there was like a Yingling Porter. There was Sam Adams Winter Lager. There was like a couple Bold Ciders, Bold Rock or whatever that shit's called, hard ciders.
Yeah.
And there was a couple other things, and then like Miller Lite, of course. And the majority of people are drinking Miller Lite.
Good God!
like put that shit down.
I would have gone after the Winter Lager.
Man, we went to. That's why I got two of those. We went to this place called the Hideaway on Lake Wateree, off of 97. Maybe this was this past Friday or something. But they were having karaoke, and Lauren's family was there and all that kind of stuff. So we went out there, and we were at a table there had to be 10 plus of us at this table, and every guy was drinking Miller Lite, and every female had like wine or whatever females drink, And I just did not want to be that one dick. Like, do you have like a beer list I could look at? I'm gonna be the fancy like craft brewery. You know, I was like, just bring me a Miller Lite. So I had like 2 or 3 of those, and I was like, ugh.
I don't want to drink carbonated hop water.
It's so bad, man. It's a slap in the face. I get it for young college people, or
if you're just trying to get wasted, fine.
Yeah,
dude.
Exactly. Go get Busch Light. Go get Milwaukee Best. Or
if I'm gonna have 1 or 2 beers,
I want to drink a nice tasting beer.
Yeah,
I want something that somebody put some real effort into. And
people who say that Miller Lite tastes good have no idea what they're talking about.
They're blatant liars.
Yeah. That's your dad.
Or they have COVID. He's a Bud Light in a bottle, man.
Hell yeah.
There will not be one other thing that he will drink in a restaurant other than Bud Light in a bottle. You can't. I'll like. It's funny because like, we'll like somewhat try to convince him like, hey, you know, you need to go outside of your comfort zone. And me and my brother will kind of toss him our beers, but we also drink like IPAs and shit like that. So he'll take like one sip and go, no, I'm just sticking my Bud Light in the bottle. I was just like, well, he didn't really help you at all.
Nah, you got to give him
like one of the worst tasting.
Right,
ones.
you got to give him like, you got to start him out light. Give him a nice Pilsner or some shit, or like a Kolsch.
So yeah, something like
yeah.
Or maybe even this. It's not bad. He probably like
he'd call that some fairy shit.
Yeah, it looks like some rosé or some shit. But it's weird that, you know, I look at IPAs like I look at the word bro. I know that's weird, but you remember when Steven
Seagal?
No, it was a kid that went to high school with us. He used to say bro a lot. Yeah. So he used to say bro a lot. And back then, I thought that was like a kind of douchey thing to do. And so we would always go around going like, bro, and laughing about it. And now I say,
be careful, man. He watches this podcast.
Well, the funny thing is it caught on. It was like now all the time I'm saying bro because I thought it was like douchey until like I just got used to saying it all the time. And I was like, oh, well, you know, that's just what I get for just being an asshole in the first place. But anyways, that's what I thought about IPAs. I was like, they're gross. I
still don't like them.
Yeah, but
I'll argue against them for eternity.
Right. So I would drink them just to drink them, and then now when I go back to like something really light, I'm like, this doesn't have any punch to it. You know, it doesn't have that kick to it that I want. So I mainly drink mostly IPAs now.
Good Lord.
Whatever anyone tries to make fun of,
what's wrong with you?
and they'll end up just adopting that as a part of themselves.
I think that's just you.
Maybe it is.
I think so because I make fun of IPAs and I still don't drink them. So.
Well, it's because you can't handle it.
I make fun of them because they're fucking unnecessary.
They are unnecessary, especially when you get into dippas and all that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I will have an IPA if it's well flavored and it's not, like, crazy hoppy.
Usually like a hazy.
Right. I mean, just the idea of IPAs started with they were used for preservation of the beer. And they added a bunch of extra hops because it had to make a longer trip, so it needed more alcohol to stay.
More hops, to preserve.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, and as a consequence, more alcohol. Yeah. So that's how it started, and now we're just doing it just because. I see it as like a waste of hops.
Yeah, pretty much. I can't imagine it. They probably just make a beer where it's just full of hops and hardly anything else. They put like they do a little orange zest or something on top on a like big barrel.
No, they literally just like throw one orange in there, just like a whole orange.
Like, that should do it. That should clean it up. People love this.
Yeah, that's delicious. And then people are like, yeah, this new brewery is amazing.
Well, that's the thing about fucking IPAs in general. It's kind of, no matter, if you just get a classic IPA, no matter where you really get it from, it just tastes the same. It doesn't matter. They have to put a little flavor in there. I love the haziness because they kind of leave all that, all that unfiltered stuff in there. For some reason, I like that.
I like the unfilteredness. Like I like pulpy orange juice and stuff for that reason. I like cloudy beer in general. If I see that it's cloudy, I'm like, ooh, that looks good. I want some of that. So that's when I see like Bud Light and all that shit. It looks like fucking piss.
Yeah, you just look right through it.
Yeah,
you can kind of see right through.
I mean, that's even cloudy. This is. But even this is a session beer, so it's supposed to be like lighter technically.
Yeah, and it totally is lighter.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it is. Whatever. We were gonna play this game, but we've run up on our time.
Yeah, so. we've talked for quite a minute, which I always expect from us.
Yeah. So this has been good. Maybe we should just leave our 20 minutes to in the future to just talking.
Just
Who knows?
Chit-chat. We can do that for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't want to say unfortunately, but what takes us some time, now that I don't live here, what takes us some time to actually sit down and record is because we just end up just sitting around talking. Anyway.
We need to just record them.
I know, but usually it's not stuff I care to share.
Yeah, it's serious a lot of times because we've spent a lot of time, guys, talking about the election.
Yeah, and politics and stuff. And we actually recorded an episode on it and decided it was just too much.
Yeah.
So we just got rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not really our style. I'm not an expert there. Well, we're not really experts on anything, but that's just an easy way for people to automatically hate you, you know, and you can just say,
I don't want to be polarizing, man. I'm trying to unite the people.
Yeah.
It's polarization on all sides, especially in mainstream media. I don't fucking like it.
Well, it's crazy because what's polarizing gets you more clicks and more likes and more attention. And that's, you know, if we have to go against the grain in that sort of way to just get less views and stuff, then I'm kind of okay with that.
I don't really care. I don't expect us to be famous anyway, and I'd rather not be famous if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. I already have a lot of stuff to do. I don't need that.
Yeah, because there was like I think I told you this, but Matt Damon got asked if he liked being famous, and he said, yeah, for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I did hear. I don't know where I heard. I literally just heard that like a day or two ago. Yeah. He was like, and like barely even for a couple minutes, and then it was just got old. Mm-hmm. I can imagine. I mean, a lot of pressure's put on them. And then what's so annoying about celebrities in general is people are like, hey, what's this celebrity's opinion on this huge topic? Like, they're not even the creative ones. They look at a piece of paper and go, oh, and just recite whatever's on it, you know? They don't make anything up. They put the emotions in it, but that's it. They're not really known for their abstract thought and creativity. Well, maybe some creativity, but...
They're just like a beacon for human attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what makes them valuable.
Yeah, and especially if we can... If like you were a famous person and I could talk to you for like 30 minutes to kind of persuade you on what I'm saying, and then I turn on the camera and you pretty much just regurgitate what I'm saying, then I just got millions of people to follow what I said just because it came out of your mouth.
Yeah, if you can get Samuel L. Jackson on your side and get him to say motherfucker after you say something...
You'll get a lot of good attention. Just no matter what.
Literally, like, you could probably say something to the camera and then it just flips to Samuel Jackson. He goes, motherfucker!
That's all we would need.
That's it,
Let's put that at the end of all of our videos.
Hell yeah.
If you can get through this hour and a half, you will hear Samuel L. Jackson say, motherfucker, at the end of this.
Hell yeah.
All right. Is that a good enough timing? We'll move on?
I think let's move on.
All right. So let me go ahead and set our timer, and I'll start us right now.
Okay.
So where we left off is beating children going to... When you extrapolate that out to them being adults, did you already fuck up at the very beginning, basically? Like, you've already taught them violence.
Well, that also kind of depends on the child, too, doesn't it? Because,
but...
there are a lot of children that were beat, but then will absolutely not beat their children because they were beaten. They know what it's like. But then some people become alcoholics and then beat the fuck out of their children, too. So
that's a tough one.
It depends.
I guess everyone learns differently, but... If you're ever going to create a civilization or society that's not based on violence, it has to be completely absent from childhood as well. And that, I would love to hear anybody tell me how they could raise a child with zero violence or... I mean, well,
a lot of people do that, man.
You were probably not beaten very much.
Not often. I was spanked.
That's also why you're a piece of shit.
But I was also scared of my dad growing up. So
yeah, I'm kind of scared of your dad today. So
yeah.
I got my ass beat all the time, but I rightly so deserved it. And I don't know if because my mom never spanked me, but my dad always did. So like if I would have just been raised by my mom, I would have been just a hellion. Like she would have hated me. She more than she did. So I beg of anyone to provide that solution where on a global scale, on like an actual like all-encompassing situation or procedure to teach children in a way that completely avoids violence and this sort of kind of rivalry thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
Where it's not, where we don't have that same evolutional thought to say like we have to be better than the next person so that we can survive. Like we don't need to do that anymore. We can be completely different, but that's just ingrained into who we are as people.
So essentially our answer is boiled down to it's not necessary in a different world.
Yeah.
But in the world now, violence might be necessary. And what I was going to say before, I forget exactly what point you're on when I was going to say this, but violence is what gets a lot of the attention. Because violence has shaped our society in some serious ways, and
it's America alone.
And it's brutal, and like that's why people like watching fights and like legit fights and MMA too, and boxing. But fighting and violence gets a lot of attention, and love doesn't get a lot of attention. And I think love has done just as much or more to shape our society as violence. So if you could potentially replace a large amount of that violence with loving coercion almost, then maybe it would do just as much good or more than potentially beating your children could.
Right. And I guess I'm thinking of like Hallmark movies or like something like that, but it doesn't incite like a crazy entertaining reactive response or whatever. You know, it's like if you're just like, you know what, I love you, I think you're doing great, that person's gonna be like, oh, that's sweet, everyone's gonna be like, oh, that's sweet, and then it's gone. If people start beating the shit out of each other, it's gonna be talked about for days and weeks. That stuff's interesting. You get a big response out of that,
and a lot of the times people respect each other after they fight too.
I think that's great. I wish that could happen on a global level, which I doubt it will.
No.
What happened in America? We killed each other.
I mean, it might happen on a local level, but the powers that be will continue driving to take over whatever they were going after. So maybe like this would never happen, but if we could put down all literal weapons and just have an all-out fist fight, like between two armies, everybody's just beating the fuck out of each other. There are some casualties, but it's not like death isn't the goal, it's just like a submission kind of thing.
China's totally gonna win.
Or like maybe we have paintball wars or whatever.
You have to put your hand up when you're out. I get sent back home.
I mean, I've thought about this before, is potentially like, what if we had like a chess tournament or some crazy shit, like, or like virtual warfare,
If you had to, just imagine this, like China versus USA on a chess tournament that decides, billions of dollars of resources for the year or something like that. How much cheating and how much violence is going to go on prior to that actual?
Well, how do you cheat in a chess game?
I don't know.
I don't think you can
kill the other person so they can't show up.
That's an interesting move. Checkmate. I think not.
Yeah. Now he didn't win. He didn't do it. He didn't finish. So technically, he forfeited, and I win. So.
Right. That's game.
I wish we could be that civil.
Wouldn't it be nice? But then, like warfare. This is also an argument that I've presented with you, normally behind closed doors, but for the sake of my audience to just think about it, I'll say it here. Warfare is potentially one of the things that keeps human population in check. And if you say that overpopulation isn't actually a problem, then maybe go fuck yourself or something. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought you were going to point to a source or something.
maybe we can have that debate at some point. Is overpopulation a problem? But I think Brennan and I are both on the same page there.
I don't know. There's a lot of area in the Midwest. It's wide open.
Well, yeah, that's not the problem though, is it?
I don't know.
It's habitable, but it's mostly like the arable farmland that's the problem, and we're having to destroy a bunch of forests for the best arable farmland. So that's that's mainly the argument. It's not that there's not enough housing space.
Yeah,
it's space it actually takes to take care of a human being. So that's the argument. Housing space isn't a problem, obviously.
I don't know. No, I really don't know. Okay. I mean, I would love to say with our technology we'd be able to come up with some sort of solution for this.
I mean, we're working on it.
Yeah, they're making chicken nuggets in vats now, and like burgers and stuff in vats and like in labs and stuff like that.
That's disgusting.
It's apparently like real meat.
Let's not talk about that.
Well, I mean, honestly,
let's get back to violence. I don't want to talk about fucking large-scale chicken nugget cooking.
I'm inciting violence just by talking
Christ,
about it to you.
Eat vegetables. Stop eating chicken nuggets.
There's something going on down here.
But my point was that warfare is potentially one of the things that keeps humans in check. And there's all sorts of quasi-warfare that goes on. It doesn't necessarily have to be full-scale like a world war. There's all sorts of little miniature battles that happen under the guise of potentially terrorist attacks or whatever it may be.
I think we have enough problems. You know, it's like we don't need to really create those problems. We're already battling nature. We're battling viruses. We're battling, all these other kind of things. It's like the last thing we really need to do is just start killing each other because this person didn't agree with this person. And unfortunately, there's not like some universal law. You know, in a sense, that would be nice because we could just follow it and everything would be easy and dandy. Not that that would actually happen either, but there's just never really going to be people to agree on certain things. So if I think I'm entitled to something just for whatever reason, and you think you're entitled to it, you know, there's only so much talking that's going to happen before I'm just...
Especially if you speak different languages.
Yeah.
And you're not even willing to talk. Like, a lot of these people don't even know English, especially on the local levels.
You have not only the language barriers, but just the, like, cultural barriers. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, they live, you know, in another country. They live life a completely different way. And who's, you know, we can say, like, you know, oh, you don't need this thing. We don't use it over here, so you don't need it. Let's just get rid of it altogether because it's bad for the environment or something like that. And they're like, go fuck yourselves, you know? And so then you're not really going to talk it out because I'll never see your side of, you know, your point of view. You'll never see my point of view because we're just from two extremely different lands and cultures. So then it's just like, well, what do we do now? Do we take 8 steps away from each other and draw? You know, like, how do we deal with this? Or can I, like, maybe hide in a bunker and just send something your way that you won't even notice to just take you out, and I don't even ever have to worry about the argument ever again?
Yeah, I'm kind of on your side.
Yeah, people are conniving.
It's hard to play devil's advocate with this.
It is, because again, it's, you know, ideologically, we'd all love to just get away from it, you know, or in a perfect world. But, you know, we don't live in a perfect world.
No, we don't. We live in a largely imperfect world.
So seeing that violence really is probably not going to go away.
At least for now.
At least for now, do you think it will be to our demise?
Violence? Mm-hmm. No. I think I don't know if humans will ever go extinct, but honestly, I think that our biggest threat is going to be either one, our massive use of antibiotics, or two, climate change and or lack of arable farmland. So we're gonna and also lack of fresh water.
That wouldn't kill all humans. Like
no, well, nothing's gonna. I'm listing the biggest threats that I perceive here.
Well, the world looks good from here, from where we are.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
I mean, the air looks clean, water looks clean.
Our moon has an atmosphere, which is neat.
That is neat. So I really don't think that climate change is even real.
Yeah, based on this picture, climate change isn't real for sure.
That's hilarious, but I will have to lean a little bit the other way. Yeah, I'd love to be optimistic and say that, you know, we can at least figure it out enough to where we don't just get rid of ourselves. But I think, you know, with the discussions that you and I have had, and you know, tons of other people have had, you know, with the way that technology is exponential, you know, we've made technology so incredible that we can pretty much do whatever we want, wherever we want at any time. But yet we haven't grown our morals at the same rate. We haven't grown the ethics of how to deal with this technology at the same rate that the technology's grown.
Wait, so you think it's going to bring us to extinction?
I think it would bring us to extinction, yeah.
Well,
but before we have a chance to get to another planet, before we have a chance for climate change to even ruin the planet, I think we'll do a much better job at that ourselves.
I also know that there are, I mean, like, this isn't in the public eye for good reason, but I know that there are a bunch of underground bunkers for large amounts of people to survive some sort of apocalypse situation, particularly perpetrated by our government and probably other major governments around the world. So I don't think anything's going to cause us to go extinct. But
I guess I'd have to see how well established those kind of things are, because in my mind, I'm thinking like it has to be like a Matrix type situation where they pretty much live near the core, because we could pretty much incinerate like the whole crust of the earth, I feel like, with as many nukes as we have on the planet.
But it doesn't work it doesn't, like, the incineration doesn't go that much more than, like, I mean, maybe the radiation will, but I don't think the incineration goes much more than like 10 feet underground, maybe. I mean, like, I don't know this, but
I would disagree just for, I mean, because we've dropped atom bombs before.
Yeah.
And
hydrogen bombs.
Yeah. And I think it goes more than 10 feet underground.
I mean, most of the time they do it in the ocean.
Right. Or on islands or weird shit like that. But I'm just saying, and that was 50 years ago. You know, I think whatever we have, not only we, but whatever is all over the world, if one goes off, it could easily be a chain reaction. And by that time, you set off 10, 15 nukes. There's no possible way that people will survive.
I just don't. I don't think nukes are going to penetrate thousands of feet, like thousands and thousands of feet of crust. Of crust?
Yeah. Well, I know we have enough crust, but do we have living situations down there?
Potentially, yeah.
And if that is the case, so I imagine, like we said, if China's kind of infiltrated us in a scenario, they know about that stuff. So if they wanted to get rid of us,
I know, but then China's still alive.
Right, but they wouldn't be able to just completely get rid of us before we probably sent something back their way. But I don't think we'd also have enough time to move thousands of people underground either. I mean,
you know, they might already be there.
Like, I can't argue that actually, but I wonder who gets to sign up for that too. You know,
they're probably born into it, man. Honestly, at this point, there's probably like a sign up of military people or.
Yeah, probably. I just don't imagine. You know, because like I said, we could shoot those bombs and it be anywhere within 30 minutes on the planet. Mm. If that is the case for anything, you know, what is 250 million plus? I mean, we're closer to 300 million in the United States, but you know, what could we do in 30 minutes to have any chance? I don't think it would take the whole United States out.
There's just no way that we would kill everybody on the planet with these. A lot of them, yes. But there would be a certain point where all the nations were like, all right, we have like so few people left. Maybe we should stop fucking shooting nukes at each other.
But then, you probably...
Radiation would be a problem.
You'd have to live underground.
And also, like, there are all sorts of things that can kill us. Like, the volcano under Yellowstone, that super volcano. There's all sorts of things.
I've heard that that's nonsense, too. Not nonsense, but I've heard that because of the volcano it doesn't really have the chance of erupting and killing us all. This was by some volcanologist, I heard.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm just.
I know you were just putting some out there, but
yeah, there's a bunch of things that can potentially kill us.
I agree. I think we'll do it. I think we'll do it before anything else does, or enough to where we have to practically restart.
I mean, we'll see because fresh water in particular is already a problem in a lot of places.
Yeah, California.
And water desalination will take
It'll
off.
Have to. I mean,
It'll take off.
We won't have a choice.
Yeah. But
or either we'll adapt to fucking drink salt water or some shit. Mm-hmm. That would probably take tons and tons of time.
I just have a hard time thinking that humanity will completely go extinct for anything. I don't know.
What an ending point.
Yeah.
Well, we're done talking about violence today.
Yeah. We got off on a little bit of a tangent, but that was good.
Yeah,
we did all right.
Okay. I mean, again, there's only so much you can argue on if it's necessary or not. It's all a made-up scenario at that point. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, anything else you'd like to say in our closing moments? Any recapping or anything?
Not really, man.
Any message you want to send to all the people out there?
Yeah, the message that I wanted to send is, there are a bunch of underground bunkers. That sounds like complete nonsense, but if you think back to it, it makes so much sense to me once they realized potentially that a nuclear apocalypse or some sort of serious grave threat was a problem for humanity, that they started drilling into the earth. And
probably 70 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, in the 70s.
Right, look at the Boring Company now. The Boring Company, Elon Musk, look how he's already dug huge tunnels all over the place. I mean, if they started this 50 years ago, they've made some huge progress.
Yeah, they have. I mean, thermite tit drills were invented 50 years ago, and that's when they started doing things. So
that's creepy.
I mean, I don't know if I've talked about that on this podcast, but
I don't know. But we're out of time.
Yeah, we are out of time, so I'm not gonna.
I want to make one closing statement.
Okay.
If I can issue any sort of help to anyone out there, especially during right now, we have election crisis going on. We have fucking COVID running rampant, apparently, according to the news. I would just urge everyone to disconnect in some point of your day.
Agreed.
You know, again, we're kind of hypocrites because we're putting stuff out there and saying, get off your phone for a while, but at least 30 minutes to an hour a day, if not more than that, just put it away. Just focus on yourself. I don't think enough people spend time with themselves. They probably don't really like themselves, and they probably don't really know how to handle the emotions and thoughts that run through their mind. That doesn't mean avoid them. It means
face them.
Face them, exactly. Figure it out. You're a grown person. I believe in you.
Meditate on it. Do some yoga. Do a high dose of mushrooms.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know, whatever you got to do.
Learn yourself.
Face your fear.
Yeah, exactly. Get off the internet where it does nothing but polarize and incite violence, I think, and just scares the shit out of people. Really.
Stop confirming your fucking bias. Everybody is looking into stuff that, like, they're looking for stuff to confirm what they already believe.
Yeah.
It's not like I was recently watching Andrew Schultz's new little thing on Netflix, and he said something that I thought was, I mean, honestly pretty profound for a comedian. Mm-hmm. He said that the saying, you got to see it to believe it, but he flip-flopped it around and said, you got to believe it to see it. Or, you got to believe it to see it. And that's cool. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense because people will be completely blind to shit even if it's right in front of their face if it doesn't agree with their current narrative.
That is very true, yeah. That's very true.
That's super true for everything that's going on right now in particular. So, guys, just,
take care of yourself.
Realize that you don't know everything.
And not only that, but no one's going to do it for you. So if you don't take care of yourself, people are not going to help you do it. So it's kind of your own duty. But
eat your vegetables and exercise.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you like the video, subscribe, leave us a comment, tell your friends, all that kind of good stuff. Feel free to tell Chase he is very dumb. I do it all the time. So otherwise, this has been the next installment, I guess.
The first in a while.
The first in a while of Cause and Defect.
Attaboy. The show for serious conversations with not so serious people. It's been good.
Join us next time where we talk about Russian top hats. Got toasty in here.
I didn't even bring the thing in.